Hello everybody. So this video is entitled NBIS and NVDA. Major deal. AI is real. These two companies, of course, securing another partnership. We know they've already partnered together in the past. This is a pretty big deal. The market is responding very well to this. The stock up 14%. Right now, as you know, this is a stock I started covering on the channel when it was about $30. I was behind. I liked this stock from the IPO, and we IPO'd a little more than a year ago. We IPO'd now 3x since IPO. I like this stock very much. NBIS, of course, the management team of Yandex. It's a spin-off from Yandex. Yandex was the Google of Russia. They did the spin-off and they brought with them a lot of startups, right? They have AV Ride, which is a self-driving startup. They have, of course, 28% of ClickHouse, which could be valued as much as a snowflake. So there's a lot of VC investments that come with NBIS, which on their own really should make this stock look even cheaper. Like on their own, NBIS is already very, very cheap. Because NBIS, we're talking about a stock that's super cheap. Enterprise value over gross profit over revenue growth is a 0.06 right now. That's cheaper than HIMSS, right? That's very cheap, and that doesn't include the potential value of, like I said, especially the ClickHouse stake that they have. If you were to take that stake out, the EV over GP over RG is probably closer to like a 0.04, maybe even a 0.03. The stock predicted to grow revenue by 600%. But this could actually be more than that. We'll see as they announce more deals. This could actually be more than that. EBITDA margin is already there. Gross margin is already there. But the market is worried about how much money it's going to take to do the build out. It's worried about the investments. That's what it's worried about. You know who's not worried about that? You know who's not worried about the future of AI? NVIDIA is not worried about the future of AI. They announced they would invest $2 billion into NBIS, which, this is a tale of two stocks, NVIDIA and NBIS. And so NBIS is one of the neo clouds. There's NBIS, there's CoreWeave, right? There are these GPU-only clouds, right? Unlike AWS, who does a little bit of everything, NBIS tries to use only GPU, only token factories, right? As Jensen would describe them. But NVIDIA is investing in those cloud providers of the future. That's why I could say, NVIDIA is the next NVIDIA. Will NVIDIA be a $10 trillion company soon? I think so. The market is not giving NVIDIA credit. In fact, NVIDIA at a 0.62 is one of the cheapest. And actually, if you subscribe to the idea that the forward revenue growth at NVIDIA will be more than 48%, NVIDIA is the cheapest Max 7 stock, despite being the largest company in the world. NVIDIA is the next NVIDIA. NVIDIA is investing at $2 billion in NBIS. And think about that. I think NBIS is extremely undervalued, and NVIDIA thinks so too. That's why they're putting $2 billion of their own money in there. NVIDIA has a chance of becoming a conglomerate of epic proportions with just their hands a little bit in everything, a little bit like a Google is, right? Think about when Google invested. Google, for example, owns 8% of SpaceX, right? Think about when they invested in SpaceX in 2015. Were people calling circular revenue? Were people complaining? I don't know how big NBIS is going to be in the future, but clearly NVIDIA is acquiring a pretty big stake into NBIS right now. If I calculate that properly, we are at close to 10% ownership of NBIS by NVIDIA now. What if NBIS becomes one of the big AWSs of the future, right? Well, then NVIDIA will own it. So these companies don't take these things lightly. They don't throw money around lightly. And this was asked on the call of Jensen. They asked this of Jensen, like, what are you doing with all this money? Why don't you do buybacks? And they say, we don't do buybacks because we see a better use of our money investing in our ecosystem, right? And they think investing $2 billion into NBIS is going to have a much greater return than actually investing $2 billion into buybacks. And I entirely agree with that. I am not the biggest fan of buyback. I don't want the company to get smaller. I want the company to get bigger. How does a company get bigger? By acquiring more stakes in other companies, by investing in growth, not by burning money to reduce the number of shares outstanding, which is what a buyback is. So anyways, really briefly, let's talk about what else is important about this deal. Because of course, $2 billion is nice, and the market was worried about where they would get the funds to do the build out. So that's very, very nice. But there's more than comes with these $2 billion. Actually, you have a partnership, a collaboration that also comes. And so, in a nutshell, what's important in this partnership is guaranteed access, early access to the NVIDIA's products. That's a big deal. You know that Elon Musk, for example, keeps saying, oh, we need as many as you're going to get us. Like, give us as many GPUs as we can. Not just Elon Musk, right? Many players out there. NVIDIA, by partnering with NBIS, guarantees a collaboration which will lead to early access. So you can see early samples, early system software support, early adoption of computing architecture, including NVIDIA Ribbon platform, Vera CPU, the Bluefield storage system, health monitoring, deploying health monitoring. So this partnership will give NBIS dibs, first access to the products of NVIDIA, in addition to $2 billion. To me, this is a really good deal. This deal ensures that NBIS has access to all of the stuff, not to mention the cash for the expansion. And I can see the bear argument already forming. So I want to address the bear argument because I'm tired of hearing this argument. I've heard it for 6 months. The argument is circular revenue. Is NVIDIA buying revenue? Well, first of all, to me, this is a classic hit piece FUD, and I see this circulating. Do you remember that when Palantir was trading at $15-20, they were doing the same thing? Palantir was investing, in Archer, and they were investing in a lot of very, very small startup type companies back in the day, and they got a lot of criticism for that back in the day. People were saying, when Palantir was $20, people were saying, oh, well, Palantir is just investing in these companies so that they buy their software. No, they're investing in the ecosystem. They think it's a better use of the money to invest in companies that will thrive thanks to their software than it is a use of the money to do a buyback. A buyback is an old Wall Street ideas, which I think Saylor has thoroughly debunked. You want the company to get bigger over time. You don't want it to get smaller by destroying capital via a buyback. It's called actually building an ecosystem. It's called actually cooperating, which is a concept that is very tough for 1970s MBAs to get, because they didn't really necessarily think that cooperation was a thing, right? They thought competition was the standard. No, businesses. I mean, we know since the advent of Nash equilibriums, and we know since all of these studies that cooperation is actually very helpful for businesses to be successful. NBIS and NVIDIA do not compete against each other, even though they're two separate companies. They don't compete against each other. They work together, right, with one goal in mind: generating ever more tokens, generating more tokens. You know that this is NVIDIA's line in the conference call all the time. Jensen always says, all that matters is how many tokens are we generating? Are we generating ever more tokens year after year? As NVIDIA said, there is an endless need for intelligence, right? Endless need for intelligence. Just like a bank would say, there is an endless needs for cheap money and cheap loans. This is induced demand. The more tokens there are available, the cheaper the tokens get, the more the intelligence will be eaten up by somebody somewhere. There is an endless need for intelligence with all of the problems in the world that need to be solved. Also, the argument of circular revenue to me is disingenuous, because all economy is circular. Circularity of the money is a good thing. In fact, if you look at economics, velocity is key to a country's success. How many circles? How many times does the money go around in circles? That's key to the success of an economy. The money needs to oscillate. It needs to change hands as fast as possible. And the faster it changes hands, the better it is for the government and for the state and all states and all of that sort of stuff. It's better because every time it changes hands, boom, you got a little tax, you got a little toll to pay, right? Your tax is on whenever the money changes hands. So this is a good thing for everybody. I think this is a very disingenuous argument to say that NVIDIA is buying revenue. It's so bearish. And then to tell you the anti-AI agenda, I'll finish with this, but this really hits home for me. The anti-AI FUD is very annoying. But people say things like, who will buy stuff if AI kill jobs? well, wait a minute. You're not worried about the circular economy on that one, right? That doesn't really bother anybody to think circularly when you make the argument that AI will kill jobs and people will stop buying stuff. This is a classic anti-tech, Luddite, anti-Austrian argument. People who say that, the burden of proof is on them, because the argument that technology will kill all jobs has always existed, and it has existed since since the Luddites, since the wool and confectionery industries in the UK more than 200 years ago with the automatic loom machine, and people going on strike thinking that the loom machine would eliminate jobs for everybody. So again, that argument, this is a circular argument too, but that doesn't bother the FUDsters when they make a headline like, oh, AI will kill jobs. So that bothers the FUDsters when you make an argument, say, oh, NVIDIA is actually buying revenue. All economy is circular. It's all the ecosystem. All that matter is the oscillation, and the oscillation is there, and the oscillation, the velocity of the money, how many times it changes hands, it will just keep accelerating. So I'm not worried at all about this. I think this is a big deal. I think this is great for NVIDIA. This is a much better use of its cash than buying back its own stock, and this is a great news for NBIS, because NBIS gets the cash, which is very, very nice, but they could have gotten the cash elsewhere as well. More importantly, NBIS gets early access to these GPUs. It's the value of these relationships, the value of relationships between big tech CEOs, right? And of course, NBIS and NVIDIA are two big tech CEOs. Don't forget the CEO of NBIS is the founder of Yandex, Google's Russia. They've known each other for quite a long time. So anyways, this was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is only entertainment. I'm hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.